Okay, looks like we're all set to go over here. As we're sponsored by Sholem Fogel, Nishmas Rabbi Yaakov Zeb and Rabbi Aryeh, Mos Rivka Bas Rabbi Yaakov Yosef, Mos Sibya Miriam Bas Rabbi Gad, Rabbi Yosef ben Tzim ben Rabbi Yaakov Zeb, by Baruch Ian Lili Nishmas Yaakov Chaim and Abba Esther Bas Gittel, Abraham and Shmuel HaKoyin, by Yaakov Yemansky Akos HaTov to the Rav and the Zum family, Nachas from children and grandchildren, by Abi Spry from Nachas for his whole family, and Ed Salah from London, and Joshua Rosenberg, a virtual Talmud. We also want to learn Refuah Shalema for our Bava Basra Daf, Shimon Klein, Shimon Yehuda ben Gittel. Should have a Refuah Shalema b'Seich Shar Cheli Yisrael. And let's see, we have Saba here, Irving Fishbaum. We have Mo Kushner and Chaim Kramer, Eddie Chazan. We have in the shul, in Fairways, Rich Leonard, Michal Avram, A.B. Spry, Gedalia Engel. Anybody else there? Is Ruvain Shanet back?
Yeah, he's back, but he had a little bit of emergency at his home, so he had to run there. His freezer went on and everything was spoiled, so he's cleaning tonight.
Okay.
He'll join tomorrow. He had so much going on at home. He just got back this morning.
Okay, we have Nachman Chapler here, and Marshall Castle, Yisrael Meir Kaplan, Yisrael Fisher. Oh, A.B. Spry is here tonight. That's good. And Aaron Swade, and Dr. Block, Shalom Fogel, and Berish Gesserman, Shelley Zeitlin, Adi Appetite, Rabbi Kranz, Ilya Shutman, David Helfgott on Kol Oloshin, and we are. I just want to point out that Gedalia made a important point to me by text after the shir. I did not explain yesterday's Gemara about the Rebbe of Yoav according to Taisus. Taisus learns that the Rebbe taught him correctly. He taught him Zecher, but Yoav did it wrong, Zechar, and the Rebbe didn't correct him. That's the way Taisus learns. I learned last night that the Rebbe taught him wrong, which I thought was a more pashut way to learn the Gemara. I would imagine the reason why the Rebbe didn't want to, why Taisus doesn't want to learn that way, is because it's unlikely that the Rebbe taught him the wrong pshat and then didn't realize it. If he realized it later, he should have told him and corrected it. It's more likely that the Rebbe learned the right pshat, just that he was derelict in his noticing that Yoav learned the wrong pshat. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehakol niyeh b'dvaro. Welcoming in Ruvain Pollack, joining us now as we are getting underway. Mirz Hashem, I hope tomorrow night to be broadcasting back live in the Agudas Yisrael Beis Zev with everybody there, and coming back for Mirz Hashem, the great simcha of our Bava Basra Daf Michal Avram's Ofruf and wedding in Mirz Hashem. We are holding now by Amar Rav Yosef, which is 4 lines from the bottom of Daf Chaf Aleph from the base. 4 lines from the bottom of Daf Chaf Aleph from the base. Tonight we have a triple crown, as we will learn the Daf, and then we will have a Chumash here, and then we will learn the Mishnayos in Kedushin.
You know that your uncle is in the hospital, Mati?
No, I don't.
And they COVID.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, something like that. I was Route 70, like on Charles State, in the hospital, giving intravenous.
Okay, so we learned from my uncle, Mordechai Miller.
Mordechai Tzvi ben Sarah Malka.
Mordechai Tzvi ben Sarah Malka. he should have a refuah shalema b'sei shachar Yisrael. What a wonderful man he is. Amar Rav Yosef, Umaydei Rav Huna b'mikrei dardekei. Rav Huna admits that, remember we had Marshall being a Rebbe, if another Rebbe wants to open up in the courtyard, that Marshall cannot stop him. The Amamar, and we skip the parentheses and go right away to the top of Chav Beis. The Amamar, kina soifrim tirba chachma. The jealousy of scribes keeps them both on their feet, increases wisdom. So we want there to be competition, because this way each one will be on top of their game. Amar Rav Nachman Yitzchak, Umayda Rav Huna b'rei Rav Yeshua. Rav Huna, the son of Rav Yeshua, agrees that even though he was of the opinion that you could stop somebody from a different town coming into the town and opening up a similar profession, but he agrees that Avon ladies, peddlers that go around from house to house, you can't stop them. The reason is because Ezra wanted to make sure that every woman would be able to have cosmetics. And therefore he instituted that the peddlers should always be able to come around. And therefore, even in a town that has a regular perfume shop and cosmetic shop, you can't stop the peddlers from coming around. Ezra tikanam liyisrael. Ezra enacted for Klal Yisrael sheyuroichlin marzirim bayaris, that the cosmetics peddlers should be able to come around in the cities, in order that there should always be cosmetics for the Bnei Yisrael, because that's necessary for Shalom Bayis. And I always wanted to learn that the way Ezra knew that this was so important is because the Gemara in Saita says that together with the mun fell cosmetics. So you see that cosmetics is not a luxury, it's a basic necessity for Shalom Bayis. But they're only allowed to go around house to house. To open up a shop when there's already a shop there, loy. However, if the peddler is a Talmudic scholar, then we even allow him to open up shop in order that he shouldn't be stirred in his learning. He permitted Rav Yosha and Rav Avadia to set up shop, the loikilcha, which is normally not allowed. My timer, Kevin, what's the reason? Kevin Rabbananinu, since they are rabbis, if we don't allow them to do that and they have to go from house to house, it's going to be a mavatal their learning, kama akfil ilvayu. It's going to stir their learning. Kevin Rabbananinu also litirdu migursayu. It's going to cause them to stir their learning. Now the Gemara tells us an interesting story, as we have people joining us every second over here, making us wealthier. Moshe Lehman, Naftali Jablin, Abe Arbach. Good to have everybody joining us over here. And just the news that Ruvain Shanik is back in town fills me with happiness. I knew he wasn't going to miss his good friend Michal Avram Chavin's wedding. He's just coming back from Eretz Yisrael. Says the Gemara, Hano dikuloi, basket makers. The Aise dikloi lebavel. They brought baskets to Bavel to peddle their baskets. Now, in Bavel, there were already basket shops. So, Asabnei Masa, the basket merchants in the town, they wanted to stop them. The basket people from outside said, listen, we're coming for market day, and we're only selling to people that come to the market from outside the town. So also the coming to Ravina, they came before Ravina. They come from outside. Therefore they could sell it at the market where people come from all over. But v'hani bila b'yuma d'shuka, and therefore they could only sell it on market day, avu below yuma d'shuka, but if it's not market day, loy. And even a b'yuma d'shuka, nami loy amrinon, the only thing they're allowed to do, el lizvunei b'shuka, they're only allowed to sell it in the market. Avaladure, but to go around to the different houses, loy, that they're not allowed to do, as we welcome in Michael Akto, we welcome in Stephen Holtzman, and now we're beginning to look like we're back in process over here as we welcome in Menachem Yemansky, who just joined us, and Nicole, who just joined us, Stephen Holtzman, who just joined us. Okay, good, 27 Zoomers as we're waiting. We're waiting for Mark Frankel. Where is Mark Frankel? We haven't seen him yet tonight. Says the Gemara Vaita. We have as we said, we have a full evening ahead of us, an exciting evening ahead of us, with a very interesting shir about Shalom Bayis in Yitz Hashem in honor of Michal Avram's wedding. We will have in Parshas Balak, we will talk about the pasuk of Matovu Ohalecha Yaakov Mishkan Oisecha Yisrael, and talk a little Shalom Bayis. Hano Amoroi, there were wool merchants, the Isi Amra Lefum Nara, that brought wool to Pumnara. So again, also b'nei Masa, the wool merchants of the city, come Akvil Ovayu. They said, you can't sell wool here, it's Hasagas Kavul. So also the coming to Rav Kahana, they came to Rav Kahana to plead their cause, as we welcome in Avram Rezepkowitz, who is joining us now for our 28th Zoomer of the evening. Avram, good to have you, as Avram is communion koyach. It says, when two friends grasp hands together, that's yad, that's yedid. And the gematria of yedid is 28, is koyach, because there's tremendous strength in friendship, as we know everybody feels here, belonging to this shir. I want to point out, Avram, that you shouldn't forget that tomorrow night I will be back in Fairways. The plan is that I'll be there Thursday, Emetz Hashem, through Shabbos, Sunday. Monday night I have the shir in the Irgun, where we're doing the annual Q&A at the Irgun. Rabbi say, I haven't received enough questions, so if anybody wants to submit a question for the Irgun, a good question, send it to rmmwsi, that's Rabbi Moshe Meir Staten Island, at AOL.com, rmmwsi at AOL.com. I will hopefully be there also Tuesday on the Tanis, so I should be in shul through at least Tuesday night. And our very own Yisrael Fisher will be posing the questions this year. Shelley has a wedding, so Yisrael has been kind enough to step in his place. Shelley stepped into the place of Country Yossi. So we've had remarkably qualified questionnaires. Says the Gemara, so again, Hano Amaroi Da'isi Amr Lefum Nara, there were wool merchants that brought wool to Pumnara. So again, also b'nei Masa, the wool merchants in the town came and come here akvei ovayu. They said, you can't sell it, hasagas kavul. Also the coming to Rav Kahana, so the outside wool merchants said, look, Amalu Dino Amalu, so Rav Kahana says, Dino de makvei alaychu. They're right. It's hasagas kavul. So Amrulay, the outside wool merchant, said, look, Islan Ashroy, we have debts to collect in the city, and we need to survive while we collect the debt. So we're selling wool in order to be able to afford to pay the hotel, to be able to pay the restaurants. Amalahu, so he said to them, okay, Zilu zivnu shir chayasaychu. You could only sell enough to be able to afford your room and board. Adi akriso ashray ditku, until you get paid your debts, and then vazlisu, then leave. And you can't sell more than you need for your immediate needs. And now the Gemara tells us a frightening story. This is a frightening story with terrible repercussions, terrible consequences. This story has a sad ending. It's not a fairy tale. Rav Dimi min Narda Aisi Groigeris Besvina. Rav Dimi from Narda brought figs in a boat. So he arrived and he wanted to sell them. So Amalei Reish Galusa l'Rava, the Reish Galusa said to Rava, Poke Chazi, go and see if this Rav Dimi eats Tzurban Rabbanan, who if he's a Talmudic scholar, then Nikit Lei Shuka, in his honor, hold the market and say that nobody is able to sell figs until he sells his figs. So Amalei Rava l'Ravada bar Abba, so Rava delegated to Ravada bar Abba, Poik Toi Le B'Kankane, go sniff his jar. In other words, go and see if he's a Talmud Chacham. Nafik v'azal, so Rav Ada bar Ava went, and Boy Minei, he asked Rav Dimi a hard question. You have to know a Mishnah in Kalim to answer this question. So Boy Minei, he asked of him, Pil shebola kfifa mitzvahs, an elephant that swallows a wicker basket. Now, a wicker basket is Makabel Tumah, because it's a clay eitz that has a base kibble, and a clay eitz that has a base kibble is Makabel Tumah. But what happened is that the elephant swallowed it. And then Vikir Derech Beis Hareya, and it came out whole from the rear end of the elephant. The elephant excreted the basket. Mao, he asked Rav Dimi, is the basket going to be Makabel Tumah? Or, since it came out of the Beis Hareya, it came out of the elephant's rectum, it has a din of clay glolim, a utensil that's excrement, and clay glolim are not Makabel Tumah. So, lo yave biyodei. Rav Dimi didn't know the answer. So, he had heard that there's a big scholar in the town known as Rava. So Amalei, so Rav Dimi said to Rav Ada bar Ava, Marni you Rava? Are you Rava? Tafiklei b'sadlei, he tapped him on his shoe. Bein didilu Rava iketuva. Between me and Rava, there's a big difference. Rava is much greater than me. Mio al korchach ano Rabbach. I'm your Rebbe. For Rava, Rabba the Rabbach. And Rava was the Rebbe of your Rebbe. The result was, he didn't pass the test, so they didn't hold the market for him, and then he wasn't able to unload his figs, and Posid Gregoris today, his figs spoiled. So also the coming to Rav Yosef, so Rav Dimi came before Rav Yosef, Amalei, he said to Rav Yosef, Chazi mar my avduli. See how I was treated. Rav Dimi was a big man. See how he was treated. He tapped me on my shoe. Amalei, so Rav Yosef issued a curse on Rav Ada bar Ava. Mandish lo shaye onisa de malka de Edom. One Hashem who didn't delay the shame that the king of Moav wrought on the king of Edom. The king of Moav had the king of Edom killed, burnt his bones, and used it as lime to smear on walls. Lo nishaye lo, he should not delay your shame. Ichsiv kayama Hashem al shloisha pishay Moav. I forgave 3 sins of Moav, but the arba, the 4th sin, lo yashivenu, I will not waive. Al sorfu atzmais melech Edom lasid, and he killed the king of Edom, and he burnt his bones and made it into lime to smear on walls. So noch nafshei to Rav Ada bar Ava. Rav Ada bar Ava passed away, and now several sages bemoan that they were the cause of Rav Ada bar Ava's demise. Rav Yosef Amar Ano Anishtei, I caused his punishment. The Ano Lat Yasa, I cursed him. Rav Dimi ben Arda said, I caused him suffering, the Afsid Gregoris Didi, because he ruled me not a Tzum Rabbanan, and because of that, all my figs spoiled. Abaye Amar Ana Nishte, I caused his punishment. The Amalul Rabbanan, because Rav Ada bar Ava would say to students, why are you chewing bones in the yeshiva of Abaya? You could have fatty meat in the house of Rava. So he talked disparagingly about Abaya. The Rava says, I caused him punishment. When Rav Ada bar Ava went to the butcher to get meat, he told the butcher, I should get served before Rava's attendant. Rava's greater than me, but I should get served before Rava's attendant. I'm more superior to Rava's attendant. I was the cause of his demise. The Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak Reish Kalahaber. Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak gave a very, very large shir with halacha on Shabbos. It was known as the Kala shir. Some people learn that it's the shir before Yom Tov, but it was a very big shir. So Kol Yuma Mikame Dinei Lekala, every time before he went to give the Kala shir, he reviewed the shir with Rav Ada bar Ava so that it should be easy and fluent in front of all those people. Marit Badei Rav Ada bar Ava l'shmaitza. He would review it with Rav Ada bar Ava. That's what he would do in order to review the shir. And then v'hodar ayla l'kal. Hahu Yuma, on the day that Rav Ada bar Ava died, and it was a Kala day, so he was supposed to review the shir with Rav Nachman. Nokte Rav Papa Rav Huna B'Reid Rav Yeshua Rav Ada bar Ava. Rav Papa and Rav Huna, the son Rav Yeshua, collared Rav Ada bar Ava and said to him, Amulei Eimel on Hani Shmaitza de Maisa Behema. Tell us the sugya, the last sugya in Bechayris, in the Perek Maisa Behema. Heichi Rinu Rava, what were the chidushim that Rava said? Because we weren't there. We weren't there. So Amalahu Hachi Amarava, Vachi Amarava. So he got a orangutan in telling them all the Chazaras Shir of Rav Shir, and he didn't show up to review the Kala Shir with Rav Nachman. Adahachi Nogalei Rav Nachman Yitzchak. It was late. Rav Nachman Yitzchak was postponing the huge Kala Shir. V'lo yasi Rav Ada bar Ava, and Rav Ada bar Ava didn't come. So Amalei Rabbanan Rav Nachman Yitzchak, the rabbi said to Rav Nachman Yitzchak, what's the hold up? What's the hold up? Why aren't you coming and giving us the share? So come, the Nagalon, it's late. Lama Yosef Mar. Why is the master just sitting here as we welcome in Nachman Chapler for our 29th Zoomer of this evening? Amalahu, so he said, now he couldn't imagine that Rav Ada bar Ava would do this, that he wouldn't give him a chance to review before he goes into such a share. So he said, Yosivna v'kana tarna la'arsei de Rav Ada bar Ava. If he's not here, it must be that he died. So I'm waiting for the coffin of Rav Ada bar Ava. Adahachi, in the meantime, Nafikala, a voice went out to Noch Nafshe de Rav Ada bar Ava. Rav Ada bar Ava passed away. Umistavra, the Gemara says it's likely that of all these people, the Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak Anshe. It was Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak that caused his punishment. Now, what's going on over here? Today I saw Shalom Fogel, and Shalom Fogel said this is really the opposite of the way people are. Most people say, I didn't do it. Right? Everybody says, I didn't do it. No, I didn't do it. And here everybody is saying, I did it. I did it. We have to understand that what's happening over here is the Gemara is teaching us how serious it is to be involved in any type of disgrace or dishonor to a Talmid Chacham. You're dealing with death. Now, we already know it's deadly. We know that the Talmid Rabbi Kiva, Shaloi Nagu, covered Zelazet, 24,000 of them lost their lives. There's a very scary mimer in Chazal that Kol HaMavazeh Talmid Chacham ein refuah l'makoseh. There's no cure to his wound. That's a very scary thing. We have to take very seriously dishonoring a Talmid Chacham. And over here we have a lot of elements of dishonor, saying that hitting Rav Dimi on his shoe because he didn't know one halacha, deeming him not a Talmid Chacham, to make him lose all his figs and his parnasa. In the case of Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak, not being concerned of the shame of Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak that he wouldn't have somebody to review the share, and facing all those people, Abaya, referring to Abaya and saying, why do you go to the great Abaya and chew bones by Abaya, or not to have respect for the attendant of Rava. These are all elements of not having enough covered for Talmidei Chacham. People don't realize that when a rabbi gets up to speak and they walk out of the room when he gets up to speak, they don't realize that they're flirting with disaster. Or even somebody that when the rabbi gets up, all of a sudden he becomes an incredible masmid and opens up a sefer, and in front of the rabbi he starts learning while the rabbi is talking, because of course he doesn't need to hear what the rabbi says. These are the kind of things that they're just dangerous things to do, and these are mild things. Talking negatively about Rabbanim is a very scary thing, and this Gemara teaches us how we should steer away from any such behavior. Now, getting back to Bava Basra, Marshall has a wall next to Dr. Block's wall. And as the Gemara will add, and Marshall's wall fell down. Lo yismach lo kaisel acher, he can't put up another wall, a replacement. Elim kein hirchak mimenu arba amas, unless it's 4 amas away from Dr. Block's wall. The reason why it has to be 4 amas away is because Dr. Block wants people walking alongside his wall, because walking alongside his wall and trotting upon the ground strengthens Dr. Block's foundation. Let's say Dr. Block has a window. Beimil Malon, if Marshall wants to put up a wall higher than his window, Beimil Matan, or lower than his window, Ben Kenegdon, or opposite his window, Arba Amas. It has to be 4 Amas. It has to be 4 Amas away from his window in order that it shouldn't darken his house. It can't be within 4 Amas high, because then somebody will stand on the wall and be able to look in. It can't be less than 4 Amas low, because somebody will stand on it and peek in, either from below or from above. Now, so the Gemara says if Marshall's wall fell down, he can't rebuild it unless it's 4 Amas away. So the Gemara says that implies that the original wall could have been closer than 4 Amas. But how did he put the original wall closer than 4 Amas? No, that's what it means. When Marshall wants to put up a wall, he can't put it up unless it's 4 Amas away. But the Gemara says it doesn't say that in the Mishnah. It says if the wall falls, that there was a wall nearby and it fell down. Originally, Marshall's wall was away 4 amos. V'nofa, and then it fell. Lo yismach lo kaisel acher. He can't put another wall nearby. Elim ken hirchak mimenu dal amos. He has to distance that one also 4 amos. My time. What's the reason? The dafsha dahacha, because trotting on the other side of the wall, ma'alul lahasim, is good for Dr. Black's foundation. And as Taisus explains, why don't you just say, if you want to put a wall nearby, you have to distance it 4 amos? And the answer is that I might think once the first wall had 4 amos, it was hardened already. It already had its trotting. Now if the wall falls down, you could put a second one even closer. Kamashman, that it consistently needs people walking there to solidify the foundation. Amarav, that's only if the wall was the wall of Dr. Black's garden. So on the inside, nobody walks there because he has his roses there. But if it was the wall of his courtyard, since people are walking on the other side, then you don't need to have walking on both sides. In Baal Ismail, if Marshall wants to put it closer than Dalamas, in Baal Ismail, Simon. Rabbi Yishia says, whether it's the wall of a garden, whether it's a wall of a courtyard, in Baal Ismail, if Marshall wants to do it closer than 4 amos, he can't. They're not arguing. If it's an old town, from years and years, the foundation was already strengthened. So then, if it's a wall of a courtyard, then Marshall could be Saimach closer than Dal Amos because it's enough the walking on the other side. But Habi Ir Kadosh in a new city, it's not trod upon enough. Even if it's a courtyard, he can't do it close 4 amos. Tanan, somebody is not muted over here. Moshe Lehman. Moshe Lehman, you're not muted. Now, Dr. Block has joined us. Again, Moshe Lehman, you're not muted. Now he is. Thank you. As we welcome in Dr. Guy, who has just joined us. Good to have you. And we now have our 31st Zoomer of the evening. Okay, now we're talking over here. Now we're talking. Marshall is beginning to feel bourbonitis.
Yep, it's coming.
Okay. Now, let's get to the windows. Tanan, here's 32. As Richard Rosenzweig has just joined us. Well, welcome in, Richard, for our 32nd Zoomer of the evening. As we know, Richard, when you have 32, that's Leiv. Richard is one of the hearts of our share, so it's good to have you, Richard. Tanan. And we're just coming down the home stretch on Daf Chav Beis Amud Beis in Bava Basra before we start the Chumash year coming up soon. Tanan, Hachaloinos, windows, Beimil Malon. If Marshall wants to make a wall higher than the window of Dr. Black, Bein Milmaton or lower, Bein Mikenegdon or opposite, Arba Amos. It has to be distance of 4 amos. So if it's higher, it has to be 4 amos higher, so nobody could stand on it and look down. If it's lower, it has to be lower 4 amos, so nobody could stand on it and look in. It has to be away 4 amos, so it shouldn't darken Dr. Black's house. The Tani Allah and the Brisa says, Milmalon Kidei Shelo Yotzitz V'yira. It has to be 4 amos higher. The person shouldn't bend down and peek in. Milmaton, below, it should be 4 amos below. Shelo Yamad V'yira. It shouldn't be able to stand on it and peek in. Umikenegdon, and opposite, there has to be Dal Amos. Shelo Yapel. It shouldn't darken the house. Now here's an interesting thing. The only reason it has to be 4 amas away is it shouldn't darken the house. Taima shelo yapel, avol mishum daf shaloi, but we're not worried about trotting the wall in order to strengthen it. Says the Gemara, we're talking about where a wall comes at the window perpendicular. So where it comes perpendicular, we're not worried about the dafsha because people walk on either side of this wall. It's only the small area where it comes perpendicular that they can't walk. The kama, according to the Brisa, how much is the distance that it has to be away from the window in order not to darken? Amar Yaiva Chamud Ashin Bar Nidvach, Yaiva, the father of Ashin Bar Nidvach, Mishmei Derav, Kamale Roichev Chaloin. It has to be at a distance of the width of a standard window, which is a tefach. Says Gemara, if it's so close that it's a tefach, even if you stand on top and it's 4 amas higher, but if it's a tefach close, you're going to be able to see in through the window. Valoi meitzis, you're going to be able to see in through the window. It's talking about where he slants the top of the wall so that nobody could stand on it. So, but the Gemara says, what do you mean it's enough to be away at tefach? V'anan tnan arba amas. We learned that it has to be away 4 amas. Says Gemara, lekasha kan meruach achas. If it's only coming one wall on one side, there it's enough to be away of tefach. Kam b'shtei ruchas, but if it's 2 walls on either side, there it will really block the light, so there it needs to be 4 amas away.
I thought it's perpendicular, this case.
It's perpendicular, but if it's perpendicular only one wall, the light will come from both sides. But if it's on either side, then it has to be away 4 amas. What?
Okay.
Tajma, there's a koisel min maskila. You have to distance a wall from the gutter, daled amas. Why? Because you have to leave the person room to put a ladder to clear out the gutter. To get out the leaves from the gutter. The Gemara says, "Taima mishum sulam." It's only because of the ladder. Aval mishum daf shala. You're not worried about trotting beneath. If you're worried about trotting, so then you have to distance it dal amas anyway. Says no. Where it's a sloping gutter that itself is, let's say, 6 tefachim. So if it wouldn't be for the leading the ladder, then you would be able to distance the wall only 4 amas from the wall. You wouldn't have to do it 4 amas from the end of the gutter. The imishim davshu say people walk under the gutter. Here you have to do 4 amas from the end of the gutter in order that you have room to lean a ladder for dalet amas. Now, says the Heilige Mishnah, and by the way, I should tell the Olam, I am not sure, because tomorrow for me is a travel day from the country, and I don't know how much time I will have, but it would be nice to be able to learn 2 blot tomorrow. If we learn 2 blot tomorrow, then we will be okay for Monday night, because Monday night I won't be able to give share because I'm talking at the Irgun, and I did not yet perfect the method of talking from both ends of my mouth. Marshall knows how to do that, but I don't. But I don't know how to do that. So, but anyway, so if we are able to, we'll do 2 blot. I'm planning to give a normal share Sunday night because Michal Avram's Chasen is at 4, so that will give me enough time to get back and say a normal shir. But Monday night is not possible. Also, Rabbi Isai, I'll just give you a little scoop that Tuesday night is going to be a late shir because I believe that the Tanis is about over 50 minutes, is around 9:08. So, and it's a long Tanis, so I want to give people a little ample time to eat after the Tanis. So Tuesday night, share is going to be 10:15. Tuesday night, share will be 10:15. Okay, now,
Would you consider splitting one blot into two, like do a blot and a half and a blot and a half?
no, because that causes problems for Kol Halashon, it causes problems for TorahAnytime.com. So although it doesn't cause problems for Marshall.com, but it does cause problems for all the other things.
Why would there be a problem? Just record them half and put the second half on and release it.
Also, you got no problem, bring your food to the share.
Okay, anyway, it's not as easy as you think it is. But of course, we are not all as technically savvy as Marshall, but it's no problem. Marshall will be giving share when he needs to, but that's our schedule.
Frankly, identify with
Yeah, right. You do frankly, right. Now, says the Mishnah, Marchikim es hasulam min hashayvach, you have to distance your ladder from Marshall's dovecote, arba amas. If you want to lean a ladder in the same area as his dovecote, you better keep it 4 amas away. You know why? Kadesh like tikbay tanemiya, a marten is a dove-eating creature, and you don't want to give access to the marten to get up to Marshall's doves. And like we just learned, you have to distance the wall from the gutter, dalaramas, so that the person could lean a ladder onto the gutter to be able to clean the gutter from leaves. Now, the fact that you can't put up a ladder that might, even though you're putting up the ladder here, Dr. Block says, look, I'm leaning the ladder on my property. Why do I have to worry about Marshall's doves? That would seem to be not like Rabbi Yossi. Remember, Rabbi Yossi is of the opinion that ala nizik laharchik esatzmai. Marshall has to worry. Di Rabbi Yossi haimer zeh chayfer b'sexual life is zeh naiteh b'sexual life. Marshall digs a bar on his property, and Dr. Block plants a tree on his property. He doesn't have to worry about the roots. Says the Gemara, afilu tamer Rabbi Yossi, it could even be going according to Rabbi Yossi. The roots happens after a long amount of time. It's not like it's a direct shot. So it's not gira delay, it's not an arrow. Afilu tamer Rabbi Yossi, Amar Rav Ashi, ki avinu bei Rav Kahana, when we were learning in the yeshiva Rav Kahana, Hava Amar Moide Rabbi Yossi admits begire didei, where it's a direct chance of a hezek, like shooting an arrow. Hachanami, maybe when Dr. Block puts up the ladder, there's a marten waiting right there. Zimnam Davhadi Demonachlei, as soon as he puts up the ladder, Yosvei Bechor, there was a marten in its lair, Vikofta, and it jumps up and eats Marshall's doves. Says the Gemara, but even so, the ladder is only a grama. It's only causative. V'hagramu, says the Gemara, you're right. Amar Rav Tuvi Mamasna Zoisei Meres. This shows that grama b'nizaken aser, something causative by nizaken is aser. Okay, Rabbi say we're going to stop here to daf, but don't go anywhere. Can I have my notebook? Don't go anywhere because we're going now immediately to learn the Chamashir.